Hello, this is Dr. Brown. In this video, we're going to look at applications percent. It'll be pages 5 to 10 in your textbook. I am sure that the great majority of you are very familiar with the concept of percent. We're just going to review this so you'll be ready for some of the other lessons that will come after this. What do you know about percent? The base word is cent. A cent, as you know, is a 1/100th of a dollar. In other words, you need 100 cents to make one whole dollar. Certainly you've heard of century, which is 100 years. I remember seeing centipedes down in South Georgia where I grew up. A centipede is a bug that has 100 legs. If you studied Roman history, you probably have heard the term centurion. A centurion was a Roman officer with 100 soldiers serving under him. And then, of course, percent is a phrase that describes a ratio per 100. Just to give you a feel for it, suppose you had a box with 100 sub-boxes, and you wanted to represent 7%, you would just take and highlight 7 of those boxes. That's 7 per 100, or in a fractional expression, it's 7 over 100. If you had 50%, then you would color in 50 of the sub-boxes, 50 per 100, and the fractional amount would be 50 over 100, equal to 1/2. 25%, you would color in 25 of the boxes. Alternatively, you could color in this 25, and this would be 25 over 100 equal 1/4. And then, of course, if you had 100% of an amount, you would color in all 100 boxes, and that would be 100 over 100, fraction equal 1. If you had 110% of an amount, that means you have the full amount plus 10 more, which would be 110%, and the fraction would be 110 over 100 equal 11 over 10, reduced to lowest terms. Getting back to the definition, percent means of each 100 or in the 100. Let's change the percent to a decimal. 14% would equal 14 over 100. And if you wanted to express that as a decimal, you would just divide that and get 0.14. Of course, you can take the 14 and just divide by 100, move the decimal place over 2, and you've got 0.14. For 5%, it's equal to 5 over 100. Again, move the decimal place over 2, and you get 0.05. For 100%, this is 100 over 100, and move the decimal place over 2, and you get 1.00 would be the decimal. For 103%, you're talking about 103 over 100, move the decimal place over 2, and you get 1.03. Now let's convert the decimal to percent. Basically, you're going to multiply by 100 and move the decimal place over 2 to the right, and that would be 62%. For 0.07, you get 7%. For 0.8, you can put another 0 here, move it over 2 places, and you get 80%. And for 0.166, move it over 2 places, and you get 16.6%. And for 1.54, move it over 2 places, and you get 154%. Now, in some cases, we want to convert to a fraction. 15% would be 15 over 100. And that's a fraction, and you can reduce this to lowest term by dividing the numerator and denominator by 5, and you get 3 over 20. For 7%, it's just going to be 7 over 100, and that's already in lowest terms. For 130%, we get 130 divided by 100 is equal to 13 divided by 10. But you can do this in 2 steps. I divided the numerator and denominator by 5, and you get 26 over 20, and then divide by 2, and you get 13 over 10. So this is a fraction but you also should convert that to 1 plus 3/10. So the fraction is 1 3/10. Now let's take these fractions and convert to a percent. What I would do is just put this in your calculator, and just about any calculator would be able to do this. The fractional expression is 0.8, or the decimal expression is 0.875. And converting that to percent is 87.5%. Just move the decimal over 2 places. For 3/5, you get 0.60, which is 60%. For 5 over 100, you get 0.05, which is equal to 5%. For 3 over 20, you get the decimal form is 0.15. Move the decimal place over 2, and you get 15%. Very often, you want to find the percent of the total. So the percent would be the part you're talking about divided by the whole. And depending on what you need to find, you could say this is percent divided by 1 equal the part over the whole. And then you know to cross multiply, and you get that the part is equal to the percent times the whole. So finding percent of the total, Billy has 75 customers at his gas station this morning. 32% use a credit card to make their purchases. How many customers use credit cards this morning at Billy's? Well, it's going to be 32%, which is 0.32 times 75 equals 24. Another concept we want to understand is the percent of change. First of all, we're going to talk about the absolute change is equal to what you ended up with minus the starting quantity and taking the absolute value of that. The relative change is the absolute change divided by the starting quantity. The absolute change will always be 0 or positive and will result in an increase or decrease of the starting quantity. Relative change will be in decimal form. Be sure to convert your answer to a percent. Now let's do an example here. You want to find the absolute and relative change. The office supply company purchases paper wholesale for $18 per case, and they sell the paper for $20 per case. So the absolute change is equal to the absolute value of the ending amount, which is 20 minus 18, which is the absolute value of 2, which equals 2. The relative change is the absolute value of change, which is 2, divided by the starting point, which is 18, which is 1/9. And writing this in decimal form, it's 0.111111 forever. And move this over 2 decimals, and you get 11.11% if we round it off to the nearest hundredths. So the absolute change is 11.11%. Very often in all kinds of applications, you're going to want to know by what percentage something went up or down, and you need to be able to do this. Another example, find the absolute change and relative change if the price of the gas goes from $2.40 per gallon to $1.30. Well, wouldn't that be nice? In fact, I'm pretty sure the cost of gas is a lot more than $2.40 now. I remember the first time I had a car a long time ago, it was about 28 cents per gallon. We'll not see those days again, I don't think. Anyway, the absolute change, to get to the point, The absolute change is going to be the absolute value of the ending amount, which is 1.30, minus the beginning amount, which is 2.4, which is the absolute value of minus 1.1. So the absolute value of that is $1.10. Price per gallon went down $1.10, which is good. The relative change will be the absolute change, which is $1.10, divided by the beginning amount, which is $2.40. Put this in your calculator and you get 0.45833, and convert to percent and you get 45.83%. So the price of gas is 45.83% lower. Now that supply percent to tips and commission. Suppose Daniel sold a pickup truck for $8,000 and he gets 4% commission. How much is this commission? It'll just be 0.04 times 8,000 is equal to $320. So that's how much Daniel made when he sold the truck. Now, Janet's eating that steak, I guess, at Outback for $45 is how much the bill was. She wants to give a 20% tip. How much is the tip? The tip is simply going to be change the 20% to decimal 0.20 times 45. Put that in your calculator and you get $9 would be the tip. Now, very often you are interested in using percentages when you talk about discounts and sale prices. Suppose you have a $179 chair is on sale for 30% off. How much can I save if I buy it now? Okay, you will save the 30% of a chair, which would be 0.3 times $179. Put that in your calculator and you get 53.7. $53.70 is how much you save. Suppose you have a $74 chair is on sale for 25% off. How much will it cost if I buy it now? So now you want to see how much it's going to cost you. And there are really two ways. $25% off is 0.25 times the list price of the chair, which is $74. So the amount that you would save would be $18.50. So you'll pay $74, which is the list, minus $18.50. And the chair will cost you $55.50. Now, if you're having 25% off, you're going to pay 75% of the list price. So probably the fastest way is to take 75% of the list price, which is $74, and you will get exactly the same thing, except you won't have to do subtraction. So if you have 25% off, subtract that from 100 and know that you'll pay 75% of the list price. And that's generally the way most people do that. Of course, you can always take the savings and subtract it from the list price. Now, very often, in fact, I don't know of a single state that doesn't have sales tax. And very often you have state sales tax, local sales tax, and sometimes even county sales tax. To find the sales tax, you multiply the sales tax rate by the total cost. To find the final cost, you add the sales tax to the total cost or multiply by 1 plus the sales tax rate. So you suppose the total price of a sofa is $560 plus 7% tax. How much is the sales tax, and what is the final cost? The tax is going to be 0.07 times $560 is equal to $39.20. The final cost is equal to $560 plus the tax, which is $39.20, which is $599.20. The alternate way of doing this is to take 1 plus 0.07, which is the tax rate, times 560, and that's 1.07 times 560, and we're going to get exactly the same number, $599.20. So that is the first lesson on application of percent. I suggest you go to the homework website and work the homework problems.